Hi guys, welcome. It's the Mahjong Meetup back at you with episode 4. I'm joined by another host here. You know him very well, Daske.
How's it going?
So in this episode, Daske is going to be doing a lot of talking because he's been really active in the Mahjong world. We're going to have him talk about teaching Mahjong at the anime convention in Northern California called Fanime, and then he'll go ahead and recap the recent tournament that was just this past weekend, the Montreal Ricci Mahjong tournament. So, and then if we have some time, I've prepared some slides of WWYD, which stands for What Would You Do? Some very beginning ones just to kind of get the feel and explore how the flow would for that would be. Anyways, well, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Daske. How was Fanime? Maybe talk about how you guys started setting up, maybe a little background on PML. How many people were teaching Mahjong there?
This is PML's third year at Fanime, teaching Mahjong over there. And I don't know if any of these listeners have been to Fanime before, but the way Fanime works is there's this really, really large gaming room that has everything from arcade games to like a giant tabletop section, as well as like the various dance games, the computer setups over there. So it's just like this one giant room, and also within that room we have mahjong, which is usually kind of like flat in the middle of everything. So we get a lot of traffic through there.
Ooh, wow.
Um, but yeah, anyway, this year we set up 9 tables, and Phantom May went from starting about Thursday at 6 p.m., though we didn't actually get some stuff there till like 7 p.m.,
Mm.
all the way to Monday at 3 p.m. When it finally closes. Uh,
Wow.
and it's a 24-hour convention, and we had people there like all throughout the night. And so yeah, it was really really nice, and also really really tiring.
Wow. How many people were there teaching Mahjong?
Teaching mahjong, not that many.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
us, so the people that are actually running it in North PML, we did shifts that were basically 6-hour shifts with 2 people on each individual shift.
Okay.
So for the most part, we didn't actually have a lot of manpower to spare specifically for teaching.
Okay.
Though whenever we had a lot of us there, and some people are like, "Oh, this game looks cool. Can we learn?" Like, yeah, totally. But unfortunately, for the most part, it's just kind of like keeping control of everything
Mm.
between like all the different people that are coming and playing and whatnot. But a lot of the people that come and play can also teach, and so we saw a lot of that this year. Like, a random person comes along and like, "Oh, this game looks cool. Can I learn how to play?" And someone's like, "Oh yeah, totally. We'll teach you." So it was definitely really fun on that part.
Oh,
As
cool.
far as the number of people that we got, I have no idea. In peak hours, we had 9 tables over there in total, so
Nine
enough for
tables.
36 people. And they were
Wow.
completely filled during like the really busy hours of the day, especially like late afternoon into the evening, even overnight, especially up until like 2 a.m. We had a very good amount of people, and even on like the last day, like Monday, from like uh, 12 p.m. going up to like the final 3 p.m. Like there were still 4 or 5 tables over there filled. So it was a pretty nice success.
Wow. Did you did you have people that already played that came in
Yeah.
to play with you
So
guys?
hmm. Most of the people that went over there and played at Fanime
Uh huh.
are people that have been there in past years.
Ooh.
And there's also a lot of people that play like Hong Kong versions and whatnot over there. I know I taught a lot of like several people how to play Japanese mahjong who knew how to play Hong Kong mahjong, and it was also fun because at that time we also got to play some Hong Kong mahjong over there. And one cool thing I found was if you ever tell a Hong Kong mahjong player like they're playing Ricci, tell them to go for a or basically a 3 point minimum,
3
not
point.
including the no flowers. And
Okay.
technically speaking, it's impossible not to get a Japanese yaku, I believe, or at least I haven't found a way. If anyone knows a way, then please tell me.
Wow. How is the sound in the stream? Are you guys seeing it? And I just finally got the chat window up too. Sorry
Now
about that.
watching two people.
Ah, cool. So, did the Tibet method that you had talked about earlier that you had used um, at the other conventions, such as ASEN, did you use that same method while you were teaching people to play?
Oh, very yeah. We definitely used that, and I also taught that to other PML members. But it was really good. One table in particular had like these three guys that came in late afternoon, and I taught them for about an hour, and we
Okay.
got to a point where like they were like playing a full 14 hand game, with like chi, pawn, and all that. And we also even added like a basic scoring system to the game, where it's basically a base hand is worth 1,000 points, and
Okay.
for every individual door that you get, it doubles it. And then we also added Ricci and Uradora. But to be able to get to that point, and especially the players playing at a very, very, very nice speed, uh,
Yeah.
from just like knowing absolutely no Mahjong at all to that in like less than, or well, not less than, but about an hour is like stupidly amazing. Though a lot of that
Wow.
can be attributed to the guys themselves. They're pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But
Quick,
even so, like that's pretty fun.
quick studies. Yeah. Wow. Any interesting stories from Fanime that were mahjong related? Like, um, any hidden players, Tenho players that came out, or
Hidden Tenho players. Well, we did have several people that played Tenho before, but nothing like whoa. We did find like several different groups spotted around San Jose. They're like, oh yeah, I play like Mahjong with my friends. Or we had some other people that were like from Google. They're like, oh yeah, I have like a small group that meets up over there and plays. So if we can like
wow.
go and like tap into these random groups that are spread out, I think it'll be pretty nice. We definitely have the potential to host a tournament in Fanime. The biggest
Ooh.
thing right now is tournaments are a little bit hard just due to the setup that the Fanime Mahjong is in. That is to say, it's like right in the middle of everything, and so there's like lots of traffic through there. Getting enough
Uh-huh.
people, on the other hand, wouldn't be that much of a problem.
Mm.
But we were talking to the board game like staff members over there,
Yes.
and they said that like next year we can even get off like a little sectioned off area for Mahjong. So if we have that, that'll be really nice, and it'll be a little bit
Ah.
easier to control everything, so we can put more of our resources into teaching people, and like hosting tournaments and whatnot.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's what we need. And I think that's what we need with natural, like going from teaching, people coming back to recruiting, which is like, hey, oh, you didn't know about our group that puts on, this thing here at Fanime. What's your email? What are your phone number? Come on down to our monthly meetups and then grow the organization. And I think this is like how local organizations should be growing. Like maybe we're doing a kind of a good process by which you viewers out there who are in a local club or you have a group of friends, since Japanese mahjong is connected with Japanese culture, you're able to get into a convention, and that would be a good space for you to recruit new members.
Definitely. Like I've been basically running around the entire country for the past 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Going to like ASIN, visited group over there in DF, in like Dallas area, in Texas. Went to the mini tournament down in LA. Went to the tournament this last week in Montreal, and then also Fanime. A couple weeks before that, we also had PAX, and even before that, we had SakuraCon.
Mm.
But yeah, conventions specifically, Japanese anime conventions, or even like gaming conventions, which are also
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a lot of potential players for Mahjong, especially if you're willing to teach. There's a lot of people that are willing to learn. So definitely for any clubs that are just, have a couple of people right now, maybe even like 4 to 8 or 12, and just are trying to think of ways to branch out to their community and actually get a lot more people into playing. Um, Conventions are like the way to go. Not only do most conventions give you passes for all the people that you would want to go and like have teach, but they can also provide you a nice space for it as well. And so as long as you can provide like sets and tables, normally for instance at like Fanime they'll provide chairs. They provide the entire room over there at Seattle, minus of course the tables and mahjong sets. But definitely go out and look for that because it's nothing you have to like pay for unless of course you're doing PAX East. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so this way, guys, this is a way for you to contribute to the convention, spread Japanese Rigi Mahjong, recruit new members, meet new people, and that's the point. Bring a piece of paper with you, bring or however you keep contacts, and get those people's numbers and names. And maybe you want to bring a laptop so you can sign them up for your meetup or to your contact roster. Sign up for the email list. That way, your club can grow because Japanese Rigi Mahjong is not really known. And how I got into it was basically at the convention at TohoCon last year. So, and now here I am creating a web show with Daisuke here on Japanese Rigi Mahjong. So get more people. That way you can spread the workload, right? You might have different members with different levels of motivation and participation. And you might find someone that's really active that wants to help out. And then conversely, less work for you and will grow the organization as a whole. So, highly recommend that. So, Fanime, any other stories from Fanime that you can share? Um,
Nothing in particular. The most part was just playing lots and lots and lots and lots of mahjong. I remember
oh,
at the end of like the first day where I worked about 16 hours in a row.
wow.
At the end of the day, I couldn't like lift up my thumb because it was in the position of just like grabbing tiles. And so I tried to get someone a thumbs up, and I'm like, "What? I can't move my thumb up. I've never had that happen before."
Wow,
But yeah,
you had you had a mahjong thumb. Wow.
I had a
Um,
mahjong thumb.
okay. Well, go ahead and take it away. I need to go step away for a little bit, but why don't you go ahead and segue into the Montreal tournament? Maybe talk about how'd you got there, and maybe your background. You went there last tournament, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All
Um,
right. I'll hand it to you.
so
I'll be right back.
So it's basically me talking to myself. No, I'm talking to the viewers. Okay, but yeah. Anyway, this is the second year that the Montreal Mahjong Club has had this tournament. Last year, I had the privilege of going up there and meeting a lot of my internet mahjong friends who I've never met before, and so that was like really exciting. And also, we had some really fun playing like Ikasama mahjong and whatnot. This year, I went up. I went up with two members from the Texas Mahjong group, who I met previously just about, what, 3 weeks ago now? And so we went up there, and the place we were staying at is really, really close to the venue. So that was quite nice. But anyway, this year, the entire Montreal tournament had 17 members, compared to last year, which I believe they had 12. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone knows. But yeah, it was really fun this year, and I was surprised to see like a lot of new faces up there. FS or a friend that I know online, who goes by the tag FSO, was also up there, in which he's originally from like Sweden, and so I had like no idea he was actually going. Well, he lives in Montreal right now, but that was a really nice surprise. Um, yeah. Oh, and so the actual tournament went pretty nicely
Yes.
this year. The previous year, they had these interesting rules where if you drop any tile, it's going to be a penalty.
Oh.
Which the entire purpose of that was to encourage like really careful play.
Okay.
Uh, but that unfortunately slowed the games down a little bit. This year, the speeds were a lot better. Uh, but yeah, so started out using WRC rules.
Okay.
Well, not started out, but used WRC rules.
You,
And the players this year were pretty good. I know there's this one guy. He said he learned Mahjong like 6 months ago, and I was
uh-huh.
really impressed because I was watching him like, man, his like tile efficiency is really good. He didn't
Oh.
have that much defensive play and such, but within a tournament like that, generally speaking, more offensive strategies are usually more beneficial,
Ah, I
because then
see.
you can more easily get into the top rankings, especially with the low UMA that the WRC ranking uses. Getting really, really high game scores is very beneficial.
Ah, I see.
Uh,
6 months.
and
Wow.
hmm. And the guy that won last year, Claudel, his playstyle is a lot like that. He plays very, very offensive mahjong.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, this year so last year he won first place, like dominated in like the first day and got like over 100. What is it? Like over 140 plus points.
Wow.
And this year as well, he ended up taking top 2 years in a row. So it's pretty interesting.
Wow, Claudel, you should come out to the Janso out here in California and see how you do. And that would be awesome. So, from the Montreal tournament, how many players came to the tournament?
From the or you mean the Montreal group or for the Montreal tournament?
The
Oh, you weren't there earlier.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Who? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, who
left
all?
me by myself.
Yeah, who? How many
Uh,
players came? Sorry.
17 in total,
Oh
which it's
wow.
pretty interesting actually. I actually haven't seen a tournament before that has had a not even number of players playing.
Mm,
And this is actually the first year that anything I've known of has actually used this buy system. They might have done this in Europe in the past, but I'm not sure about that. But the way the buy system worked was because we had 17 members, each round a person had to sit out. And
okay.
that person was obviously randomly selected through the matchup. But if a person sits out, obviously they're not going to have as many games as the other player, so they're going to be at a disadvantage. Especially since once you hit 6 games, there's going to be a cutoff, and the top 8 we're going to move to the top to fight for first, second, third, fourth, and whatever. Uh, so the way Seneschal or Grant ran the tournament was for any person that is going to be sitting out, their score was basically multiplied by an extra 20%.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which, if you're positive, then it's great. If you're negative, it's not so great.
Oh.
But the 20% is, meant for, given the 5 games, add an extra 20%, which would represent your 6th game to actually use. And it went pretty well. I don't have the exact numbers on the what is that? I don't have the exact numbers on the results at hand, but off the top of my mind, I know like David or Graviton from USPML. Uh, he was one of the people that had a buy in the first 6 games, and he ended up in the top because he had like a nice good percentage and moved him up
I
some.
see.
Other members had like negatives and moved down some, but uh, I guess it is pretty nice way. I haven't got the general opinion on everyone if that's fair or not. But from my perspective, it looked very, very useful, and it didn't look like it was giving anyone an unfair advantage. Because you might say, oh, but that guy like won like 4 games in a row and then had a bye, and so he got plus 20%. Yeah, but at the same time, he could have like not had 4 good games in a row. He could have gotten the last place, a 4th place, and had 0 points, and then the 20% would have technically still left him at 0 points. So,
Yeah, that's true.
uh, hmm.
And this in this
But yeah,
way, we're kind of compiling all these information about how tournaments work. That way, you don't have to turn away, that one person. Or let's say if you had two, you could maybe split the difference, and then um, people can actually have like a time to rest, like kind of a buy, and how that would work out of the tournament rather than, oh, we don't have a full table for 4 players. We don't have 4 players for a full table, so we have to turn all 3 of you away. Rather,
correct.
yeah.
I know how some places will run it is basically they'll get their group to run it, and of their group they'll have certain members that are acting as referees. But if the people that sign up or if the people that show up is not an even number, then they'll use their group members to fill that. But especially for smaller tournaments and smaller groups, or groups where the majority of people are already all participating within the tournament, this buy system seems actually really nice.
Mm.
So definitely,
So
if you're thinking about doing a tournament, think about that some.
yeah, guys, come into the Discord chat and hit up Seneschal, aka Trundle, and ask him how the system worked. And you too, before you run a tournament, can deal with all these kind of factors that might arise. Um, where was the tournament held at, by the way? In a
Um,
university or at a convention or hotel?
so the actual tournament itself was held at a university, the name
Oh,
of which I sadly forget. I
oh,
know some of the viewers here. one of them, Bonark, he's actually from the Montreal group, so he would probably know.
Oh, okay, Bonark, if you could chime in, and we'll clarify that for the viewers that are watching
I think
not
it's
live.
Bonark.
Uh, so did you?
So he is.
So
Oh, there it
guys,
is. Oh my God, I'm gonna ruin this. Oh, here, let me paste this into the chat real quick.
okay, yeah, and then
Um,
we can both try and read it.
what does that say?
So this is the Segjep de Masunueve. Does that sound right?
Good attempt, good attempt.
How about you, Daske? Why don't you try?
Um, finds Google. Google, what is this? What seneschal? I mean, what phonetic said? I have no clue whatsoever.
Okay, well, we'll have a native French speaker maybe chime in on the next episode to pronounce it.
A
So,
native French speaker.
yeah, right. So,
Oh, he's gonna write it phonetically for us.
oh, okay, all right, then we'll give it a go, guys. If you're listening to this in podcast form, you'll get to hear the dulcet tones of Frenetic and Daske's voices again. Okay. So,
Egypt de Maison Oeuvre? No clue.
so guys, if
As you might know, I do not speak any French.
yes, I do not either. So, if you guys at home and are in a club and perhaps are in university, maybe think about starting a Mahjong club at your university, and then you'll get a free venue to hold your tournaments. So, I don't know if this was the case here, but it seems that universities are friendly to hosting tournaments, provided that you're connected in some way. So, yeah. So something off topic for you, Daske. Did you get to sample any of the Montreal smoked meat or a poutine?
Oh, obviously. Like every time you go there, you just walk into like basically any cafe and just like, oh, get tons of smoked meat,
Oh,
tons of poutine, and then feel horrible the next day. But it's really good, and so yeah.
oh. One of these days, I would have gone, but unfortunately, it was my birthday weekend, so I could not manage to go to the Montreal tournament. But maybe next year. I am, however, going to the tournament later this year, the West Coast or the California Classic. Have you, as PML,
The
the
California.
yeah.
So yes, the name that we decided on is the 2016 PML Ricci Open. So
Ooh.
definitely, if anyone can make it, from September 10th to the 11th, we're going to be having that tournament over here in the Bay Area. So
So there
come
you.
to us. The website is actually going to be up later this week. We finally found the place that we're trying to finalize on for the tournament, which is going to be very, very close to SFO or in that general vicinity. So definitely, if you're coming, hook us up. We're going to be having both Garth and Jen from JPML there, as well as Ben, who is part of the Good Players Club, and he's a really good player as well. So definitely come. And this might be hearsay, but yeah, supposedly they might also be doing a pro teaching session or a Mahjong strategy session there. So get your most bang, or I guess what's the phrase? The most bang for your buck? Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
it.
that sounds
And
amazing.
yeah,
So you guys heard it here first. The 2016 Pacific Mahjong League Ricci Open with special guests Jen Barr, Garth Nelson from JPML, and Benjamin Boas. Is that how you pronounce his
correct.
name? From the
I
Good
believe it's
Players
both.
Club. Boas. Okay, from the Good Players Club. Three very, very, very fine players that are not only fine players but very, very fine teachers. So not only will you be able to play in this tournament, but you'll have hear them talk. If you're thinking about going pro in Japan, maybe you can ask them what the test is like, and really move yourself to the next level in these strategy sessions. So plus the Bay Area is really nice. the F Man, yours truly, might be able to take you to get burritos from some of the finest Mission taquerias.
The
Uh,
Mission Taquerias.
yeah,
Do they
yeah,
have really good burritos up there?
yeah, yeah. Maybe. Oh, Daske, I guess I should get you a burrito while I'm at it. There from Mission. My favorite is El
Apparently
Farolito.
so.
Yeah, so we'll get El Farolito super burritos for everybody, and I'll truck them back on Bart to the Mahjong tournament. So, um, and
Cater the place with burritos.
yeah, that's right. You're like, take a bite of a burrito and take a tile. Take another bite of burrito. You could. They're so big. You could probably have them sit in your lap and play
That
mahjong.
big.
You could like cradle them like a baby and maybe pat them for good luck as you play mahjong. So yeah, I've actually taken off work for that weekend, and I've encouraged the Japanese players from the Los Angeles Pride of Mahjong club to come up. And so not only will you have pro players from Japan coming over to, you might have some very stiff competition coming from some very, very good Japanese players that have been playing Riichi Mahjong for quite some
Oh,
time.
do you think we can get Shisho to come?
Oh, maybe I'm gonna try. I'm really gonna try to get Shisho to come, and Emsan is definitely very interested. So I keep on talking it up and say, hey, maybe we could even get a caravan and stay at the PML Honten house and like just have a mahjong slumber party and you know. So
Hmm.
as a location, you're still working on it, but it's going to be very close to the SF airport, and it's going to be easy to get there.
Correct. We're looking between a couple hotels right now over there at one's north of SFO, one south of SFO. Uh, but we're trying to finalize and talk to see to make sure we have everything okay with bringing in outside catering, or if not, then it's basically just going to be like like go outside and do some catering to a close restaurant.
Oh,
But yeah, trying to like finalize and harden all these things before we actually put out the website, and then also getting all the prices and whatnot. Uh, Consequently, I think Kira is wanting to go over there and like have our PML T-shirts for sale as well up there, which are going to be pretty nice. Right
ooh.
now, we are already have the white ones in planned print, but I'm trying to get some black ones as well because black T-shirts with PML logo, so nice.
Ooh, that would be so cool. I would definitely be one of the first in line to get one of those T-shirts. Definitely.
I know, right?
Yeah,
But yeah, it's all the work from that.
that's great. We're big things this year in Mahjong world, in the Ricci Mahjong world. From my side, June 18th is the next PML SoCal meetup. It's going from 11 o'clock till 5:30, and we're going to be special guests at the Los Angeles Pride of Mahjong dojo located in Gardena, and they have two automatic tables, two very nice Amos Gabin or Gabin tables, and a classic mahjong table. Uh, Daske, you've been to said mahjong dojo or the mahjong club, and it is beautiful, isn't it? It's one of the other few Johnsos in the U.S.
Definitely. If anyone's going to that PML meetup, hopefully they'll have signs this time.
Yeah.
But definitely go. There's lots of parking. The place is pretty nice. Like for like a Johnson area, it has like that really nice Johnson feel to it. Um, for the most part, I believe they styled it after how like Johnsos over there in Japan are. This one might be smaller in size, but it still has a lot of good stuff, including a lot of random reading material and mahjong mangas that they have laying around in there as well. But definitely go, even for the experience of like the Johnso, or to get in your foot in the door to come later.
Yeah, yeah, that is
All the
very
reasons to
true.
go.
Yeah, definitely go. Think of this as like as we talked earlier episodes, kind of the introduction meeting. So, if you go to the PML SoCal meetup on June 18th, you'll get to meet all of M-san, the Shisho, J-san, K-san, and all these players that we talk about during this Mahjong podcast, and then they can vet you out. And if you're good enough, you'll be able to come on certain days. So they play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and so maybe if you're good enough and you know your scoring, but if not, Emson has been giving me lessons, so you could come to these group lessons and just become a better player. Because unfortunately, not to denigrate U.S. play, but I think the Japanese players have just been at it so long that you can really learn a lot of good habits and good etiquette, and just your gameplay is just going to go through the roof if you learn from these very experienced players. So
Oh, speaking of which, what are these lessons that you've been getting from Emson?
okay, so Amson has been kind of sitting down with me, and we're talking about just approach to the game and sitting at the table, which is I've been playing having a tile that's safe to discard, which is really helpful when I Ricci. Or a tile that's very safe to discard when someone else calls Ricci, so I don't get an Apatsu like very basic things like that, or excuse me, Apatsu wrong. We've been going through the Takeshobu 80 Problems book, some of which I have made into tiles, and we're going to test out on a what would you do. And he's kind of talking to me about not only high pie, but okay, you have a hand here. What should you start going for? Given the Yaku, given Dora.
Yeah.
And my speed. Kind of working at my speed of play. It's like he told me something very helpful, which was, when you're playing, and the difference between American players and Japanese players is the speed aspect, where it doesn't get to your turn and you go, oh, I want to discard. Okay, now I'm going to think about what I'm going to discard. Like you discard, and then you look, okay, what's the next tile that I'm going to discard? And then when it comes to your turn, then you discard like pretty immediately, rather than, oh, it's my turn, now I'm going to take the time to think. So what do you say to that, Daisuke? Like that type of, to speed up the game, right? And it's etiquette.
Yeah. Definitely, it's one of the big things. You'll see a lot of people that will go over there and like they'll get their tile and they're like, oh, I have this tile, now I have to check. Okay, do I do this with this tile or do I do this with this tile? Where for a lot of the Japanese people, it's more so, okay, what tiles can I draw, or like if I get something, what am I gonna do? So for instance, let's say if someone's in reach, and I have like no safe tiles in my hand. All right, if I draw like a really bad tile, like a 5, what am I actually gonna throw next? Or oh, if I get like a good tile, I can just throw that. All these thoughts and such that it's basically, rather than thinking about your hands and thinking about specifically your next discard, it's not something that you do right immediately after you draw. It's something you're doing before you're drawing. It's something you're doing while you're looking at the situation that's unfolding before you, especially with your opponent's choices and the moves that they're making.
Watching what they're discarding, right? And
Correct.
I think that's something where you're assessing your hand, you're assessing the game state, the environment at a much higher tempo, right? Rather than, oh, I'm blanking out, I'm not really paying attention to the discards, no one's called Ricci. Okay, now it's my turn. Now I discard. The
Exactly. Mahjong at its basis is a information gathering game, and there's a lot of information to gather in Mahjong. To name just like some very very simple things, like the shanten of your hand, or aka the number of tiles that you need to get into Tenpai, the number of Dora tiles that you can see in your hand, see on the field, and the ones that you don't see, which can be very useful for figuring out of your opponent's hands, like how many Dora can they possibly have, how big can their hand possibly be. Watching the discards and seeing, are your opponents in Tenpai or are they near Tenpai? Knowing your hand and its value, and like, is this a 1,000 point hand, or is like this a really really big hand? Should I be pushing this hand against my opponent's hands? What do I know about my hand and what do I know about their hand? all of this stuff, and there's a lot of other information. For instance, like points, point situations, who you're actually playing, sumogiri tiles, different stuff within the discards. For instance, like kabe, um, Tsuji, et cetera, et cetera. The number of tiles that you can actually draw to advance your hand, or even the tiles you can draw to advance your hand in a beneficial way. All of this stuff is information that could possibly be taken in. But in a natural game of Mahjong, you normally have about like 3 seconds to choose your discard and go with it. And if you're not keeping a constant track of
Yeah.
all this information, and you're just like la la la, blank mind, draws tiled, okay, now I'm gonna think about it. Naturally, it's going to be very, very, very slow. So keeping just constant track of this information, keeping constant track of your hand, and practicing, with every new game, just like, all right, let me think of something that I want to keep track of, even if it's something like really weird, like I don't know, the number of discards you have for each individual person at any given time.
Mm.
This stuff gets you in the habit of looking at the board, looking at the tiles, and figuring out the information that you could possibly use. And once you get this information, uh, Mahjong slowly starts not to become this kind of random game or really, really just kind of like, oh, okay, this guy reached and randomly got this 39,000, or not 30, 39,000 point, or not 39,000, like 52,
3,900.
52?
52.
32, yeah,
32.
32,000 point hands.
Uh-huh.
But you can actually start to notice stuff, and especially if you're wanting it better, and especially if you're playing on tables with lots and lots of good players that are using this information and all working together towards a similar goals. Um, it will become very apparent. I know on Reddit right now there's a post from a player who is a third dan on Tenho, and he
Ooh.
says, "I'm a third dan on Tenho, and I'm playing in a basically $1 per 1,000 points Janso in Japan, and I'm getting my ass kicked. Please help." Um,
Oh.
Stuff like this kind of shows that if you were, let's say, I don't know, a beginner player, and you were at a table with two other beginner players and one really good player, generally speaking, you can still win the game, and you can still win the game a lot. Uh, Mainly because whenever you have players that are on there, even if it's just one single player, specifically people that aren't defending or aren't watching the game as much, they're going to make mistakes. Mistakes that they don't even know are necessarily mistakes. But when you have lots and lots of really good players on there, you start to get into these situations where, let's say, if you have like one person in reach, and then two people are defending, but one person isn't defending. That's very, very much the benefit of the person who is in reach, because then they're getting extra turn basically to win every single time.
Ah.
But what if you have three people that are all defending, but not only defending but playing around that reach to try to win a hand, but safely? Whenever you have these situations, even if like two people fail, but one person is lucky enough to get it, that's still a very, very powerful technique. Which is why the higher and higher and higher you get, reaching in lots of situations becomes a little less. Of course, reaching is still very powerful, and you will
Yeah.
do it most of the time.
Yeah.
But it's nothing that you'll. It's not a thing that you will just 100%. If I'm in Tepai with a close hand, I'm going to reach. Because it becomes very, how do you say, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? It varies a
Dangerous.
lot on the situation.
Okay, it's very
Uh,
situational. Um,
yes, it becomes a lot more it becomes a lot more situational. Of course, there are situations where, regardless of you're playing against really good people or really bad people, you should reach.
and
But
Dynaman calls this insta reachy. Yeah, like
insta reach, yeah.
insta reach.
Well, I mean, yeah. There's a lot of statistics for Mahjong, and there's a lot of situations for Mahjong. I know one certain book that I was reading on the way over there to Montreal. It's written by oh, I think I have it right here in front of me. Haha, there it is. It's written by a 10th Dan and also a Kyokai pro named Hirasawa Genki. But this book is basically Dettai ni raso hikanai Mahjong. So playing a Mahjong style where you're definitely not going to get last. Go 35 games without getting last, it says on the cover.
Oh.
But the way he views Mahjong is a separation between two things. One he calls theory, and the other one he calls Reigai, which is basically an outside example, or something that's not normal, something that you're doing based off the situation. So in this case right here, theory, or what he calls, is the foundations of Mahjong. Uh, the statistics that, oh, okay, if I have I'm the first one in Tenpai, and I have a closed hand with Pinfu in East 1, I'm going to reach his hand, kind of sort of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, or even like, the basics of what tiles are safe tiles, and like how do various different types of tiles rank, where like, genbutsu, or like 100% safe tiles, are at top. Second would be like honor tiles, where you can already confirm two of the tiles have already been cut. Stuff like that is the very basics in what he calls theory, which he says even using that you could get up to like 6 dan. But outside of that, he also has the Regai, or the outside example stuff. Situations where, because of what you see, or because of what your opponents are doing, because of the point situation, because what type of gameplay you're doing, the actual choice that you're making is going to change. It's not going to be just according to theory, but also change to the situation that you're in. Of course, like the second thing he says is like, don't confuse the situations where you should be doing theory with the ones you're doing Regai, because that's kind of one of the big things.
I see. That's a big
But
distinction that you
to
need to get a
even
feel.
yeah, but to even get to this point where you can go and take in all this information, to get to this point where you can start to notice tons of things, get all these little bitty hints about your opponent's hands, to actually make them into something big enough to concretely use successfully, not only once, but like the majority of time, requires a lot of information on the part of the player to take in. And it's not something, unless you have amazing memory, which there are some people that do. But for the most people out there, it's not something you can just jump in and be like, oh, yes, I should automatically keep track of all this stuff, and I'm going to use it perfectly. It doesn't necessarily work like that. Even if you're keeping track of a lot of information, even if you know that, oh, my opponent is probably Tenpai and I don't see this many Dora, okay, good, and I'm going to drop this dangerous tile. Even if you know this information and you're not using it, you're not going to go anywhere. So, yeah, the fun of Mahjong.
The fun of Mahjong, the ocean of Mahjong. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and move on. I'm going to go ahead and do another new thing for the Mahjong Meetup episode 4. We're going to try to do some What Would You Do? So we're going to do like some very basic WWDs. Oh, okay. So we got, hey, what's up, Nikaido Ume bro? Yes, I will mail you a burrito to Asia. I don't know if it's going to be good, but how about you come over here to California? I'll get you a mission burrito, and it's on me. Okay, so we're gonna wave goodbye to Saki and friends. And do you have the Twitch chat? The Twitch window open, so you could probably see what I'm changing to. All right.
Yep.
Okay. So this is 80 questions. So we're going to switch over to that. So let me get that. Click the background image. Here's the first one. This is question 1. What would you discard? So we've got a 5-6 Manzu for these are people for the podcast that just download the audio. 5-6 Manzu, 2-3-4-4-6-6 Pinzu, then a 3-3-4-6-7 Sozu, and then you just drew a 7. What would you discard? So, okay, we have Nikaido Umibro that says discard the 3-zo. So, Cold Winters says might discard the 4-peen. Okay, so you guys think about it. Daisuke, maybe talk about the tiles that you would think about discarding, and then I will go ahead and get the answer book. So I will be right back.
I'm curious what book this is from. So right now you don't have any Dora, but let's assume that in any case that you see questions like this, So yeah, let's just say this is East 1 with the door being North, and this is your starting hand. What do you discard? Given that case, as you can see right there, it kind of says, but your Rian Shanten, you have a potential for Pinfu, Tanyao, as well as, well, not really. Oh yeah, as well as a potential Sanshoku as well, with enough luck. So, given this, which is the discard that would give you the most possible tiles to continue forward with your hand to the next Shanten? In this case, luckily, there's only 3 pairs, so including Chitoitsu isn't an option right here.
So, we've got. I would probably say one of the 4-peen. Is that correct? Would you'd say 4-peen to discard?
In this case, yes, 4-pin
Okay.
is
Okay.
correct in a number of ways.
All right. I'm flipping it over, and the answer is 4-peen. 4-peen.
Dun, da, da, da.
And we did that. Okay, let's explain why. Okay, so we did the 4-peen because we have what 2, 3, 4 is a stable Mensu, correct?
Correct. So if you view this in block theory, which blocks are basically connecting tiles that you can use to form your 5 blocks. In which case, in 14 tile Mahjong, your 5
Uh-huh.
blocks are going to be 4 blocks being sets, so either runs or triplets, and your final block is going to be your pair. So in this case, we can divide the 5-6 Manzu into a block,
Okay, one
the
block.
2-3-4-4 into a block, the
Mhm.
6-6-7 into a block, the 3-3-4 of Sozu into a block, and finally the 6-7 of Sozu into a block.
Yes.
Of the blocks you have remaining, all of them are very, very nice shapes. In which case, all 4 of them are diamond shapes, also known as two-sided shapes.
Two-sided shapes. I see.
So in this case right here, if you're breaking up anything, for instance, let's say if you break up the 3, or if you break up the 3 Sozu, you're going to be losing your potential to draw another 3 Sozu or even another 6, because by throwing the 3, you're going to be locking in the 2-6 Pinzu as your pair. Whereas if you throw the excess 4, which in this case the 4 actually doesn't give you anything, because you have that 7, it's unusable with the 6s, or you don't really need to use it with the 6s because the 7 of Pinzu already takes up its duty, so to speak. And so it's your only excess tile here. And by getting rid of that, it gives you the most amount of tiles to reach Senpai, which in this case is approximately or exactly 32 tiles, assuming that none of the tiles in question have been discarded.
That's right. That's right. So let's say you could draw two Sozu, 5 Sozu, another 3 Sozu, an 8 Sozu that would match those shapes. That's okay, Nikaido Umi Bro. That's why we're having these What Would You Do's, and now we're having live commentary why to discard. So, all right, I've got 2 more, so let's go ahead and go for the next one. So this is question 8 from 80 fundamental form of mahjong put up by Takeshobu. And it is a Kindai Mahjong official book by Makoto Fukuchi.
Fukuchi.
Okay, Makoto.
Fukuchi.
Makoto.
Yeah, he's
Fukuchi.
very, very, or Fukuchi. But yeah, he's a
Fukuchi.
very, 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 very popular mahjong author. Probably the best known mahjong author, and he has a lot of books. That book in particular, I actually have it in my hand right now.
Oh, okay. So you can follow along too. All right. So this will be question 8, and let's go flip that over. That way we don't have to pause once I put this on. Okay. So on the podcast, I'll just read it for you at home. We've got six. Okay, here it goes. 6, 6, 7, 8 Manzu. 3, 4, 4, 5, 5 pinzu, 4, 5, 6, 7 sozu, and then you've just drawn an 8 sozu. WWYD, what would you discard? Chat viewers, why don't you chime in? It's better if you do rather than you don't, because that way you'll make your decision and stick to it. And then instead of seeing what the answer is, you would go, I would have done that. So, okay, we have one from Bonark712. Says, ditch the 6 Manzu. Nikaido Umibro chimes in, says, 6 Manzu as well. Okay, so I would probably go with that too, the 6 Manzu. But someone, Cold Winter says they would understand a 7 Manzu or 8 Manzu discard. Interesting. Okay, so anyone else from the chat that wants to chime in on what they would discard? How about you, Daisuke? This one is the 6 Manzu. You guys are correct in chat. Good job, guys. And maybe you can do the commentary since you have the book and can read the reasoning for the answer.
So yeah, 6 Manzu is definitely the widest of weights, in which case you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Pinzu, as well as 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Sozu that you can draw to advance your hand. So given the information you have, 30 different tiles. Cold, where is it? Cold Winters mentioned that you could also technically throw the 7, or I would understand 7 or 8 Manzu. In that situation, I guess he can see the Chitoitsu right there, but the main part of Chitoitsu is kind of hurt right here. The main reason is if you do decide to throw 7 or 8 Manzu, you will be one Shanten away from getting Chitoitsu. The problem is, though, is there's only 13 tiles available that you will be able to advance that hand. Not to mention, even if you do get it, you're going to have Tanyao, Dora, and Chitotsu, in which case if you reach and Sumo, it is a Hanemon. But the tiles in question, a 5 and a 3, especially if you're starting the game and this is, let's say, East 1, and this is your starting hand, generally speaking, middle tiles are going to be pretty hard to get from other players. Of course, you could always draw it. But with the decreased weight, your chances of winning are going to be a lot lower than if you go for the wider weight. In which case, if you do go for the wider weight, not only is it wider, and by default has a lot, well, not by default, but in this case, has a lot better chance of actually winning. You're still not losing that much. For instance, you can easily get Richi, Pinfu, Tanyao, Dora, Ipeko. With a Tsumo or even an Uradora, then ta-da, there's your Hanemon.
Ta-da!
But the main thing here is that you have a
Hanemon!
lot better... I know, right? But the main thing here is you have a lot better chance of actually getting your hand into Tenpai, and from there, a lot better chance of actually completing your hand. Chitoitsu is a very, very powerful tool, and it's very, very robust. Out of all the hands that are out there, Chitoitsu is one of my personal favorites, mainly because it's very versatile. So whenever you're in a situation where, let's say someone's in reach and you're trying to move around their hand, so to speak, with Moachi Chitoitsu is really nice because you can break up pairs, you can form new pairs relatively easily, and you can accidentally win with that quite nicely. Not to mention, it's a great hand to set up various traps with, especially for aiming for various players. But with a hand like this, yes, it can go very high if you have Chitoitsu, but whenever you're down to one tile, you're only going to be waiting on 3 different tiles that you can actually draw. Whereas if you continue this hand as it is, going for Pinfu with Yamen weights and whatnot, you can get up to 7. So it's a little bit better, but that little bit goes a very, very long way.
Again, this might change due to Regai, like you were talking about, and but this seems pretty solid. Okay, so the last WWYD, what would you do? will be question 9. So let me go ahead and pop that up. Again, this will be kind of the last of the what would you do. I'll try to prepare more. Again, big thanks to Osamuko for giving me the suggestion on how to create hands and have them displayed for on slides. So think of this as a regular segment on the Mahjong Meetup where we're going to go through these problems that we have and get the answers. So now that I know you have the book, if I have to give it back to Emsan soon, then we can take problems. So this is going pretty well. New segment here on the Mahjong Meetup, and we're doing what you guys said, which was trying to have some what would you do's here. Okay, here's the next one. Question 9. What would you discard? Okay, podcast people at home, we have 3466 Manzu, 11445 Pinzu, 45 Sozu, and then 2 Hatsu or 2 Haku. Is that right?
Tuhaku, yes.
Yeah, 2 Haku. And then we have just drawn a 5 Manzu. What would you discard? Am I missing something? Oh, and the Dora indicator is 5. So Dora is 6. Okay. So, what would you guys discard in chat? Do you want to commit to it? Commit to it, and then you'll actually know what you would discard. I've got mine. Okay, Cold Winter says 1 peen. Bonarch 712 asks 4 rounds. I don't know. Does that say in the book? I can't read the Japanese. Does it mention the round, Dasuke?
Does it mention the round right now? No, it doesn't. So whenever it doesn't mention the round, just assume you're in East 1. You're in East 1. Then this is your starting hand.
I'm sorry. He said 4 rounds, meaning the circles. 4 peen. Yes, that's right.
Oh, 4 rounds.
Yeah. I was like, what? 4th round? Okay, Bonarch 712. So Bonarch 12 says 4 peen. 4 peen
okay.
too. Anyone else? The Dora is 6 Pinzu. Anyone else want to chime in? Okay. Nakaido Umibro says discard the Haku. Okay. All right. Well, the answer is the 4 Pinzu. Yes, 4 peen. That's the discard. Dasuke, will you take that away? Why the 4 Pinzu is the one to discard?
So in this case, technically speaking, the 4 Pinzu isn't the widest of weights because you can discard. Well, technically this is Dian Shanten if you're going for, I don't know, let's say the Chitoitsu shape. There's 3 that would give a lot more options, 37 in particular, but that right there wouldn't do much for you, mainly because in this case we actually start to introduce the importance of Dora and points. So right now you have 3 Dora in your hand, which is the 2/6 of Manzu, as well as the 5 of actually, is that the Dora?
No,
no,
Dora
sorry,
is
the
5.
Dora is the 5 of Pinzu. Oh yeah. So you have the 2 5 of Pinzu. So in this case right here, it's actually kind of funny. On the back it says, whenever Fukuchi's answer for this one, it's like "gomen nasai," because normally in this situation, according to the 5-block theory, for instance, you would cut 1 here because right now you have 6 blocks.
Yes.
The 3, 4, 5, and the 6, 6 make up a combined 2 blocks. The 1, 1 Pinzu makes 1 block. The 4, 4, 5 Pinzu makes another. The 4, 5 Sozu makes another, and finally the 2 Haku make 1. But in this case right here, throwing the 4 gives you the widest amount of options. Currently in your hands, you already have one set. Or you already have a Dora, but if you were going to keep the 5-block theory, in most cases you're going to be dropping
Well, no, it
a
looks like
6-block, or
the door
AKA
the door is a
or
6 actually. Yeah, door indicator's 5, but the door is 6 Pinzu. Yeah.
the Dora indicator is what's it called? The Dora indicator should be 4 right here because I think it says Dora as the 5 Pinzu.
Oh, okay. So I misread
Y2
that.
on 5.
Okay. All right, that's what. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay.
Oh, good. But yeah, so normally in 6-block theory, or 5-block theory, you're going to be dropping your weakest block. In which case, the weakest block right here is going to be the one of Pinzu, strictly speaking. But there's another option. Whenever you have 6 blocks, specifically 6 blocks that have particularly really nice weights, you can extend it. But this is most normally seen whenever you have 6 blocks that are all your overflow blocks are all diamond blocks, aka they're all blocks that have very good shapes. But this one right here is a little bit weird, just because if you do keep, let's say, I'm going to keep that 4 around. What does that mean? That means if another 4 comes, or if I decide to keep this 4 in the future, I'm going to have to throw the 5. But the 5 right here is a double Dora, in which case, if you notice the rest of our hand, it has no other Dora. And even if we do get the Haku, it's only going to be a 1,000 point hand at that case, or unless something magic goes along, it might become more. But the Dora right here is very useful, and if we're going to be keeping a 4 round, that means we're inevitably going to have the potential to be cutting that Dora. But by throwing the 4 right here, what we're doing is basically locking in that we're going to be keeping that Dora tile, but still keeping our potential, I guess, our potential open for the 6 blocks. So why is this better than dropping the 1? Well, if we drop the 1, let's see what happens. First off, we drop the 1 of circles. Now we're left with our blocks, which are the 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, the combined 2 blocks. The 4, 4, 5 Pinzu block, and the 4, 5 Sozu block, as well as the Haku. In the case that the Haku comes out, we're probably going to be pawning that and keeping one of, and then keeping our blocks as they're going. More than likely throwing the last one and then complete from there. But if a 4 comes out, technically speaking, going along with block theory, we would keep the 4 and throw the 5 to move forward our hand with into Tenpai. But even if you get that Tenpai, it's not going to be worth anything. Especially relatively speaking to, let's say, if you had, I don't know, 2 Dora in your hands, which would be worth basically 2 times 2 more. So in this case, rather than losing some efficiency, or rather than keeping perfect efficiency, but keeping a option that we're not going to take in the future, we're getting rid of that option we're not going to take, but still keeping our potential open. So we're cutting the 4 and we're keeping the 1, the 2 ones around. So now, let's say if another 1 comes out, great, we can throw the 6 and continue with our life.
I see. And yes, Mahjong, I think the 5 peen is supposed to be an Akadora, a red 5. Am I?
Yes. Oh, yeah. You're using Tenho's thing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So on Tenho's Pyre, if you put for the number 0, 0 is equal to the red 5.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. I will do that for in the future for that. So I will get correct notation as we go through the 80 problems. I think that's about it. We can wrap it up for the Mahjong Meetup episode 4. Again, you guys are witness to the new segment of the What Would You Do? And as we progress through the book, Daisuke, maybe pick out problems that we can really focus on what would you do in this 80 fundamental. And that might give you some ways to prep before, prep for analysis after we ask at the end of the segment. So... good times. We're only getting better and better. Again, Pacific Mahjong League Ricci Open 2016, September 10th through 11th weekend. So mark that in your calendars, guys. Get prepared to fly into SFO that day. And also think about coming to Pacific Mahjong League SoCal Meetup on June 18th, Saturday, from 11 to 5:30. You'll come to one of the nicest Jansos, one of the only Jansos in the U.S. They have a really nice comfy couch. You can play for points for winning a soda or a nice cup noodle. And they've got a nice quaint fridge and mahjong and other manga that you can look through. So again, Daisuke, thank you so much for joining me. It really helps to have you on this episode, or else it would just be the F-Man droning on and on and on.
Definitely, and dun, dun, dun. Also, one of our viewers right now, Mullerjong.
Yes.
Muller is a Australian player that plays in Tokujo, and he streams quite often. I'll post his Twitch in the chat. But yeah, definitely anyone that is interested in watching Mahjong on Twitch, check it out.
Yeah, be sure to subscribe to Mullerjong's Twitch TV. And if you play Tenho, please message us, and we'll go ahead and feature your Twitch chat as well for streaming. So let's all join hands and enjoy Mahjong together. This is the...
Where did you pick up that line from?
I forget. But it sounds good, at least to me. This is the Mahjong Meetup, signing out. Thanks for joining us on episode 4. I'm getting the Twitter up, and I'm getting all the social media together. We're taking your suggestions. And yeah, we're only going to keep on getting better and better from here on out. So thanks for joining us. And we keep on playing every day. Mahjong Meetup signing out now.